Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Morning Musings. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. Really enjoying the morning. Hope you are. Hope it's been a good week for you. Want to get back into the language of Isaiah chapter 34. We are looking at the language of the destruction of, quote, heaven and earth as it compares with Jesus' prediction in Matthew chapter 24. That in the days of the abomination of desolation, remember now, the abomination of desolation would be set up in Judea, Jerusalem. It would be seen by the apostles, and when it was set up, they were to flee, because then would be great tribulation, such as has not been, Jesus said, since the beginning of creation until now, nor ever yet shall be. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, the moon will be turned to blood, the stars of heaven will not give their light, and the powers of the heaven shall be shaken. Folks, this is such typical Hebraic imagery to describe the fall of a nation. It was never intended to be taken literally of the destruction of the physical material cosmos. When people go to Matthew 24:35 and they say, oh, well, see, there Jesus said it right there, heaven and earth shall pass away. Well, he's being a good Jewish prophet using the language of the Old Testament prophets. And as we have been seeing, that language of the destruction of heaven and earth passing away was never used literally. So let me make the point again that I did yesterday. If the language of the sun being dark and the moon being turned to blood, the stars of heaven falling from the sky, if that's metaphoric language, then guess what? The language of Matthew 24:35 is metaphoric. Because that would mean that Matthew 24:35 is simply shall we say, a dramatic flourish, a dramatic reiteration of what he just said in verses 29 and following. Now, I've been sharing with you for 2 videos now, Isaiah chapter 34. Isaiah 34 predicted the dissolution of all the host of heaven, the earth melting under the blood. And yet, and by the way, it's the arm of the Lord descending. Well, notice that it specifically, emphatically, and explicitly identifies this judgment as being the judgment of Edom and Bozrah. Verse 5 and following. And now watch. Verse 7, the wild oxen shall come down with them, the young bulls with the mighty bulls. Their land shall be soaked with blood, their dust saturated with fatness. Now watch. You got to catch the power of this. It is the day of the Lord's vengeance, the year of recompense for the cause of Zion. Edom had become the enemy of Israel. And in becoming the enemy of Israel, she had become the enemy of God. God was going to repay her in the day of vengeance. Hey, that sounds like Revelation, doesn't it? The great day of God's wrath. Well, that's because anytime God acted in judgment against his enemies, it was a day of vengeance. Okay. That's Bozrah, that's Edom. Its streams, this is so incredible. Its streams shall be turned into pitch, its dust into brimstone, its land shall become burning pitch, it shall not be quenched night or day, its smoke shall ascend forever. From generation to generation it shall lie waste, no one shall pass through it forever and ever. Now wait a minute. You may be sitting there and you're going, now Preston, you told us this prophecy had already been fulfilled. Well, yes, it has, and it was fulfilled. Well, the land of Edom didn't turn into brimstone, did not become burning pitch. The land of Edom is not smoking today. Well, you see, because God was describing a judgment, the results of which would be eternal, the results of which would be unending. And let me tell you, there is no kingdom of Edom today. There is no kingdom of Bozrah or Petra today. Is there a geographic site in which there's dust and dirt from those kingdoms? Yes, that's not the point. God is talking about the kingdoms that existed and were identified as Edom and Bozrah, the capital. Oh, but we're not done. Now watch this. So the land would be turned to pitch, the streams would be turned to pitch, they would burn day and night forever and ever. Verse 11, but the pelican and the porcupine shall possess it. The owl and the raven shall dwell in it. He shall stretch out over it the line of confusion and the stones of emptiness. They shall call its nobles to the kingdom, but none shall be there, and all its princes shall be nothing. And thorns shall come up in its palaces, nettles and brambles in its fortresses. It shall be a habitation of jackals, a courtyard for ostriches. The wild beast of the desert shall also meet with the jackals, and the wild goat shall bleat to its companion. The night creature shall rest there, find for herself a place of rest. Then the arrow snake shall make her nest and lay eggs and hatch and gather them under her shadow. There also shall the hawks be gathered, every one with her mate. Wait a minute. Now just wait a minute. The streams would catch on fire, the dust would become pitch, and the land of Bozrah, or the land of Edom, would burn day and night forever. And yet, wild animals, birds, ostriches, jackals, snakes would live there. Let me ask you a question. How would it be possible for the entire land of Edom to be on fire and burn forever and forever and forever, and animals still live there? Do you see how ridiculous that becomes? Do you see how ridiculous it is to impose on this language a rigid wooden literalism that says, well, everyone knows that Edom is not burning today, therefore the prophecy is not fulfilled. Well, I tell you, we actually have an emphatic biblical testimony that says Bozrah and Edom and the nations were in fact destroyed. And by the way, I develop all of that in these 3 books. Okay? The elements shall melt with fervent heat, like Father, like Son, on clouds of glory, and have heaven and earth passed away. Regularly, they would cost you over $60. For the rest of January 2020, U.S. orders only, total delivered price, $40. Go to my website, donkpreston.com, bibleprophecy.com. Look at the banner right up at the top, click on it, and it will take you right through the order process. Now, tomorrow's Friday, and we are going to continue our examination, our refutation of Lance Conley's book, Hope Resurrected, as we continue showing how ridiculous, how utterly unbiblical his claims and comments are. Okay? You don't want to miss it. So, on Monday, I'm going to share with you absolute, irrefutable proof that Isaiah 34 was fulfilled century upon century upon century ago. And since Isaiah 34 was fulfilled, that demands that the language of the destruction of heaven and earth has to be understood metaphorically. So, I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good day.